So I am currently at the mall. Still a little weird, it feels like sometimes, filming stuff in public, but but yeah, so you might have noticed that there's no big creative thing that's come out this month, and that's mostly because I had a back injury early on that laid me out for the better part of a week, and I spent a lot of time recovering from the fallout of having been laid out for a week, and also the stuff collapsing. But I still want to put out a video thing, so I'm going to. But I'm not going to talk about creative stuff. I'm just gonna, I've got three main things I figured might be fun, just to engage in some fun speculation and chatting and such. I went to see Furiosa this past weekend, which was fun. I really liked that movie. It took a lot of the spectacle and the stuff that Fury Road did, and then kind of there was a fun part about Fury Road. I really liked three things about Fury Road. First was that everything felt very real and visceral in a very fun way. And hello, Mayfly. And yeah, Furiosa did that in spades. It was if anything, George Miller got better at doing the visceral nature of things with Furiosa. It was insane. It was quite good. The other thing that I liked about Mad Max was that it was fairly character driven, right? The movie's named after the character it's about, so it makes sense that Furiosa is a very character driven movie that I happen to like quite a lot. That's no surprise. The last thing, which was quite fun, is that there was sort of like a mythology that was being woven in the background of Fury Road. And that was fun. You had the whole thing with Immortan Joe and all of this, the fact that it's a very post-apocalyptic setting, and all of the stuff it toys with that, how things collapsed, why things collapsed, and how things ended up in the form of the wasteland. And Furiosa took that part and ran with it, and I liked it a lot. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the movie, but it is told like a folktale, for lack of a better term. There's chapters and speculations and a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all really cool. It is all quite cool. So yeah, Furiosa was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you get the chance just to see it, it's like the opposite of how Dune works, because Dune is maybe not the opposite, but it feels like a foil to Dune almost. Dune Part 2 dealt with spectacle in a very different way. Both deal with the fact that characters kind of grappling with their own sort of darkness due to what's happened to them, and both deal with lots of sand, shocking nobody. But one feels very used and is an amazing action flick, and the other one, I don't know, Dune is very clean and thought out and semi-artsy in that way that Furiosa, again, feels very folktale-y. And I'm not normally one for artsy movies, but I did still really like Dune 2. It was best. I think between it and Part 1, it's one of the best Dune adaptations I think we could have gotten, and I'm really excited for the Dune Messiah adaptation. So, yeah, I don't know. Both are top contenders for my movie of the year, and yeah, cinema's not dead yet. Disney and WB haven't managed to kill it yet, which is good. So, the other one is, I don't know, this one's a weird take, I think, but I kind of realized I didn't really ever sit with Skrillex's 2 albums that I released a year or 2 ago or whatever. Despite him being essentially one of my favorite producers ever. Back when I was in high school. And I don't know, A Quest for Fire was interesting, but something stuck with me, which is that a couple of the album descriptions pointed out that, like, Skrillex has kind of left the dubstep behind. And yet, I have been listening to Burial's 2 main albums, being, you know, I have a collaboration that I'm working on, theoretically still working on, where the other person was like, hey, the feel of this album is very Burial-like. And I think Skrillex didn't so much as leave dubstep behind so much as reach further back to its roots in some places. Burial's initial album feels very dark, right? Lots of low end, interesting kind of choppy bits, extremely atmospheric. And this is the thing that everyone says is like the proto-dubstep. It's the thing that everyone reaches for when they say, hey, you know, if you want to understand where dubstep's true roots are, go listen to this album. And it's a good album. The both of his albums are good, but Quest for Fire picks up a lot of that same darkness and atmospheric stuff. Like, Skrillex still has this crazy percussion programming, but that feels fairly at home in this sort of environment. And the vocal chopping, again, it feels like maybe he was already taking from, like, the roots of the genre before, like, everyone kind of realized he was. And the problem is it's gone so far past that everyone is like, hey, he's gone over to other stuff, when in reality it feels to me like he reached back farther into what people forgot was in this genre, which is interesting. I don't know how hot of a take that is, but it's something I've noticed while I've been sitting with all 4 of these albums, because I picked up whichever album has the porcupine on it. So yeah, it was a thing. It was cool. It worked. Third thing I think is, I had a third thing. What was the third thing? What was it? I wanted to talk about something to do with the nature of creativity. I think it was... Oh! Actually, okay, I have 4 things, because I do want to talk about some other fun stuff. Like, I've been watching a bunch of stuff. The Magnus Protocol, Furiosa, Dune 2. Some of the stuff that's been coming out musically recently. And also just getting involved with, like, Lancer and a bunch of other things. And it's first off, it's been a fun time. getting involved with things like Lancer and Crown and Skull. My brother's running a Crown and Skull solo campaign for me right now while I run a D&D 5e campaign for him, which is fun. And I don't know, it feels like there's still a lot of really cool things out there to discover, and it's got me wanting to make stuff again. It's got me like wanting to do things, especially as I start like recovering from my back injury again. I'm already up and mobile, as you can clearly tell, given that I'm up and walking around, but that's better than could have been said for the previous back injury I had, which sucked. And even then, like, full loss of momentum. Like, I was horizontal. I was horizontal for like, 3 days? Something like that. So, yeah, but it's fun, and I do want to tell, I like the fact that people are telling stories still. Lancer's got one of the most interesting sci-fi settings I've ever seen. Dune finally got a good adaptation because there's still stuff out there that people are putting a lot of thought into. Furiosa had a lot of effort. Furiosa had a lot of effort put into it. You can clearly tell everything from the way the world building is working to the way Anya Taylor-Joy has clearly put an effort into making her performance feel like Charlize Theron's performance from Fury Road. Like, there's continuity there, which they're usually, it doesn't feel like they're the same person. And this one, I think the only thing that might sit there and snap you out of the continuity of them being the same character is that the film ends. The film implies a time period between the end of Furiosa and the beginning of Fury Road. And the amount of time period, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, person A can't quite be person B, and they try and play it around it. And this is closest to a spoiler I'm going to give you. But like, that's it. And that's pretty solid, really. So, yeah. No, I'm just gonna turn around at this point. Dune was pure, like, the amount of artistry that Denis Villeneuve puts into his films, you can't not tell that that's there in Dune Part 2. It's just straight up not possible. Like, everything was very intentionally done, and it was done well. Look, it's Frog. Hello, Frog. Anyways, sorry. Got distracted. So yeah, no, there's still a lot of stuff being put out there that has a lot of effort put into it and comes together in interesting forms. And given the recent, like, apocalypse of sorts that seems to be happening with WB and all of these other companies kind of sitting there and going like, oh, we don't want to spend any money on anything. It's good to see that there's still hope. There's still people making stuff despite that, and that people are getting to tell their stories. So I want to start telling some of mine. I want to get back into writing. I've been doing writing, but I haven't been doing writing a huge amount. I don't know. It's like, I've been working on a story with Charles, and it's essentially a giant mashup of the stuff that we already are planning on writing, but I haven't actually written any of it yet. And I'm like, you know what? I want to fix that. It's a leaf. I want to fix that. I want to make a thing work. I want to make something. And I think I'm going to try and do that. Charles has already kind of gone on his means of doing it, and I'm going to attempt mine. Part of that is taking inspiration from one of my Lancer characters, and just sitting down, plugging him into a setting. Playing Lancer helped open up a whole bunch of solutions to some writing problems I was having with one of my stories, so I might actually just start writing that now. And yeah. Also, Lancer's super fun. Except for the part where the digital dice decide to screw you over. I don't know if this is just me, but it feels like every single time I play a digital tabletop system, the dice decide to be stupid. to put it mildly. I did the math. It was like a 1 in 200 chance roll or something like that. I forget precisely what it was, but it was insane how bad it was. And yeah, it kind of sucked. It was bad. But also at the same time, I didn't have my expectations set. I was coming from a like D&D 5e Pathfinder like Cypher, more traditional tabletop setting concepts, and Lancer doesn't quite do that. Lancer works a little bit differently, because you losing your mech doesn't mean it's player death, which happened on the second mission that we had, second combat we had in the first mission. And as a result had me and Charles freaking out because we'd never played Lancer before. We were playing with two veterans and we were like, that sucked, but it could have been way worse. We actually did okay because we didn't end up having to use we had enough resources to basically get back up to full, essentially, and also we won the combat by the skin of our teeth. And the other thing is, if you lose the combat, then you lose the combat. It affects the narrative, but it doesn't necessarily mean the game's over. Whereas in D&D, most of the time, if you lose the fight, the implication is that there was like a TPK or something like that. You don't really want that to happen. So, yeah. Our third battle went way better. So, things are going rather well. I kind of like the character I'm playing, but he does need to evolve into more than a lock-on Stratus XP. He's getting there, but he'll have to get there a bit further. I've got right, my next musical project that I'm going to try and make happen for Bandcamp Friday in like a little bit is I'm going to try and make a theme for my Crown and Skull character, Bjorn, who's fun. Also, before anyone says anything, by anyone I mean Charles specifically, I was not made aware of the fact that Bjorn from the unicorn from Peggle exists until after I had made Bjorn the character. Because yeah, he's a northerner, he's big and tough, and apparently one of the few people in the setting that takes Yetis seriously is like sentient, sapient beings that can be reasoned with, right? Like, they have their own set culture and everything like that, and he's aware of that their culture is different from the way humans think, but they can be reasoned with. They're not evil, they're just very willing to beat you to a pulp if you don't follow their rules. So yeah, he's managed to reason with them like 3 or 4 times at this point, and is now one of the few people that like the nearby Yetis trust, which is pretty neat, because that was not part of the plan at all. It's quite a fun like slapdash campaign. I've got the Lancer campaign, which is not fully planned out, but mostly fully planned out, right? Our DM has been working on this for a while, and essentially is essentially planning to make this a full module. Meanwhile, the way that my brother is running Crown and Skull is basically I have the reins. We settled on this early on, which is basically I sit there and I do things. There were 2 separate quest instances that I just straight up ignored early on, where he was like, oh, we're going up to the top of this mountain to go find this guy's ale, and I was like, cool, I don't care about the ale, I'm going over here to go do this other thing. Like, what's over here? I want to go over here. I want to sit here and do the thing. He doesn't care about the ale stuff. His big thing is something else. He wants to just try and help, deal with issues on the frontier because people keep forgetting about that. And that was fun because he completely ignored the thing, but then came back and had to help and spearhead the rescue party because the people that went looking for the ale went up and got lost, which was fun. And also he just stuck like a big sword in the ground, and it was like, there's a sword. Sorry, it wasn't a sword, it was a lance. I'm sorry, it was a lance. Here's this big spear that's in the ground on this like pedestal, and it was just like one of those things where like, I will vaguely check it out, and he's like, there's no inscription, there's no whatever. I'm like, cool. Bjorn is going to go, I have places to be, and leave. My brother was just like, okay. There were other fun things that happened in the campaign. It's fun. I love tabletop RPGs. This is going full me yapping about TTRPGs, but I do love tabletop RPGs when they're done right, because you get to tell stories and you get to have fun times, and they're collaborative in a fun way. It's probably one of the reasons I'm hyper sad that my previous D&D campaign died. I really liked playing Jace, and even though I have a theoretical plan to copy and paste, I could copy and paste him into 2 of my different stories that I'm theoretically working on, but yeah, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be the same, because I can try and make something as cool as the concept of Eyeless Trey, and I do have an idea to kind of make there be a Lolth XP, only the fun part is where Wizard of the Coast seems to sit there and be like, oh, Lolth has all these like rules, but is really just hyper capricious and is therefore actually chaotic evil. I took it the opposite way, where I was like, okay, if you're gonna have Lolth be the head of this sort of like weird civilization that can kind of only be as evil and backstabby as it is if you have someone on top of it ruling it. I'm gonna keep walking because I thought I expected this video to be shorter, but it has turned into a rambly mess, but it'll be fine. It's probably gonna go up unedited anyways. If you're gonna have a society that's going to be held together by one evil being manipulating everyone to turn against each other in order to make sure that everything is a specific way, that doesn't sound like a chaotic evil villain. That sounds like lawful evil. You know who else that reminds me of? Sauron. So my Lolth XP is actually really a Sauron XP in disguise, just using all the same symbology and stuff like that as Lolth. But yeah, I don't know. Jace might end up being cool in that setting, but I don't know. I like Dragon's Fang, and I don't want to turn it into just another Forgotten Realms XP. Done a lot of world building on it already, and I'm going to continue to do a lot of world building because I'm fleshing a lot of stuff out, but it hasn't gotten there yet. And I don't want to just sit there and be like, oh hey, tieflings and drow are a thing now, and just copy and paste them. But if I change the things too much, and the whole dynamic's gonna change, it's weird. I'm gonna make it work, but it still makes me sad that Jace, as I liked to play him, is not going to exist anymore. It's just sad. But oh well. Oh, there's Jackknife. Okay, so technically I played Lancer once prior to the current Lancer campaign, and it was a one-shot that we did. And I might actually make this too if I have time. We'll see how the next week goes. It's going to be a bit hectic, but you know, whatever. But I made a character called Jackknife Callahan, right? Pilot's name is Jack Callahan. His call sign and his nickname are Jackknife. I named his mech K-Bar, and Charles immediately wanted to throttle me because he thought there was too many knife jokes. But he was fun. A character from a theoretically utopian faction that's experienced utopia, and at the same time thinks that diplomacy can't solve everything. You do need to maintain utopia at the edge of a blade sometimes, because you can't fix the fact that there's some people are just evil or make stupid mistakes or things go wrong, right? You can't fix human nature. But also believes that the second you actually take up that mantle, you're no longer deserving of utopia. I'll just cross the street and then I'm gonna let this guy go past me so that I don't have to blur out his license plate. Cool. But yeah. So I don't know. I like making things, and I want to make things again. And I'm having a fun time playing these characters, and I'm inspired to try and start actually writing some of the story ideas that are in my head. I just have to actually do so. Anyway, so yeah, go see Furiosa if you haven't. I highly recommend it. I think Skrillex hasn't left dubstep behind so much as he's just reached for the roots again. And yeah, people are making things, and it's cool. And I really like TTRPGs. Oh, that was the thing I was going to talk about. Okay, this is not music related at all, but I do kind of have, I have a new camera that I'm shooting on, and I still have my old Canon. We'll see how certain things go. I've got a couple things in the works that might net me some money, but also I still haven't found a new gig, and the current job is still collapsing. So I'm not going to do this immediately, but at some point I do want to pick up a Canon R50, $800 one, I think, or it might be $700 now. But it's one of those things where, I looked at it and I was like, hey, this is everything I think I want out of a new SLR, because mine is old as hell. I say old as hell. It's 10 years old, but it's an entry-level 10-year-old camera, which means... Ugh. Anyways, I'm going to bring back the DICE project. And by the DICE project, way back in the day, I did a thing where for, I think it was 2 months. Was that 2 months or it was a month? I can't remember. I went around and placed a set of dice that showed the date in some way, shape, or form, and I would take a photo of it, and that would be the day's dice photo, which was fun. I'll throw a couple photos up here. This was well before I was I thought I knew some of the fancy things about how to do photography. Nowadays, I think some of my shots is going to be much more tasteful. But I think I'm going to try and make this happen again for at least for June, potentially for July. Yeah, I might even get some new dice for it, because it's an excuse to get new dice. But also I might not, because money. I could just buy cheap Chessex stuff, but I would like to do this with non-cheap Chessex stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, I'm going to be bringing that back. Mostly also just because I want to start taking photos again, and if I'm taking photos with the DICE project, I might do photos of the Big Larry or other stuff, or who knows. It'll be fun. It's a thing I want to try and do again, just because it's a thing I had fun with last time, and it's a thing I think I want to pick up again, just because there are a lot of things I used to know how to do that I don't know how to do anymore, and I want to start shaking off some of that rust and building those skills again. The big one I think right now is going to be photography. I want to learn how to do video stuff, and I don't know, I might start doing graphic design stuff in a couple places. Around Square's been doing having some community logos and stuff like that thrown in the mix. I might start trying my hand at logo design again, because that was fun. I used to know how to draw. I have not done that in a long time. I kind of want to start doing that again as well, for a number of different reasons. There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to try and do, but it feels like there's so little time. But at the same time, it's shaking off the rust one thing at a time. So back to music. Keep an eye out on my Bandcamp page for Bandcamp Friday. I'll have something up there at some point. Either it's going to be a Dallas thing, or it's going to be the Bjorn thing, or it might be more than one. It might be both. I don't know. But I'll have something come out on Friday. And, yeah, I'll eventually probably talk about the process of, not necessarily the process. Feels like maybe process has become mythologized over the actual, like, art itself. So I'll probably talk about the thought process and the value behind doing the dice project and what comes of it and what ends up happening. So yeah, that's all. This was supposed to be like a 15-minute video to turn it into a 32-ish minute one, and I'm sorry, I'm very rambly, I'm very tired. It's been a weird month, but I still got the thing out for the month, so yeah. Oh, I heard someone's camera go off. It means that someone else is out here taking photos too, which is neat. I hope you get some good ones. All right, cheers. I will talk to you all at a later point.